Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Aradhya Bhagavan Rajesh Tanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachidupasana Vrajavadhu Vargena Vakalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanamamalam Prema Pumartho Mahan Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Matamidam Tatra Dharana Paraha Anarpita Charim Chirat Karunayavatirna Kalau Samarpayitum Munnatojvalarasam Svabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundara Dyuti Kadamba Sangipita Sada Hridaya Kandare Spuratu Vasachi Nandana.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya
Nityananda
Jaya Advaita Chandra
Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
We
Krishna.
welcome all of our YouTube Live listeners, our listeners over Facebook Live, and our dear listeners over Zoom. Welcome to all of you to this day 16 of Sri Gauramrita. Before we proceed, we would like to congratulate and announce the names of the devotees who participated in session 15 of the quiz session. We'd like to congratulate Hari Prasad Prabhu, Mother Flavier, Nutan Purohit Mataji, Brinda Gopika Mataji, Meenakshi Moti Mataji, and Ranjani Gopika Mataji. Thank you all so much for participating in the quiz session from session 15.
So Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in his Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, chapter 14, he says, Vyadhi chale Jagadisha Hiranya sadane Vishnu Naivedya Khaila Ekadashi Dine. Pretending to be sick, the Lord asks some food from the house of Hiranya and Jagadish on the Ekadashi day. So Hiranya Majumdar and Jagadish Majumdar, they were very, very great devotees. At the same time, they were very, very rich. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, in this regard, in Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, chapter 6, Adi Leela, he says that everyone would clap their hands and chant, Hari Hari, and only then Nimai would forget his distress and become calm. And then this frequent chanting of Lord Hari's names for the pleasure of Nimai turned Sri Jagannath Mishra's house into the transcendental abode of Vaikuntha. One day, the Lord, he continued to cry in spite of the loud chanting of Hari's name. Someone said, my dear Nimai, come and dance nicely. We are singing Lord Hari's name. But then Nimai continued to cry. He was not listening to anyone. And then everyone was asking, why are you crying so much? Tell us, please, what do you want? We will bring you whatever you like. Just stop crying. And the Lord said, if you want to save my life, then quickly go to the house of these two Brahmins, Jagadish Pandit and Hiranya Pandit. I'm very attracted to the homes of these pure devotees. And if I could eat their offerings, then I would become a very healthy and calm, and I could behave normally. Now, this request actually was impossible. Nimai's request was impossible. What he wanted was neither practiced among men nor sanctioned in the scriptures. So Shachi Mata, like someone's house, I just go in and ask them for food. Why? Because my child wants to eat from your house. It looks so awkward. And that's against the principles of Atithi. And you are abusing your authority as a Atithi for Atithi Satkar. So Mother Shachi, she felt distressed. And then everyone said, okay, don't worry. We'll give you whatever you want. Just now you stop crying. We'll give you. So Jagadish Pandit and Hiranya Pandit, they were topmost Vaishnava devotees. They were inseparable friends of Sri Jagannath Mishra. And when they heard Nimai's request, they were just filled with joy. And these two Brahmana Vaishnavas, they said, this is a very extraordinary story. We have never seen such an intelligent child. How could he know that today was Ekadashi and that a large variety of food had been offered to the Lord? We were thinking, who will eat all these offerings that we have made such large variety? Now we understand that this child, with his exquisite beauty, is none other than Lord Gopal Krishna. And Lord Narayan acts through this boy. And Paramatma is actually prompting Nimai to speak in these ways. So these two Vaishnava Brahmins, they decided to give all the offerings to Nimai. They took everything to his house with great delight, with pomp and show, and then said, eat these offerings. These are Ekadashi offerings. And our desire to satisfy the Lord will be fulfilled. And then here, Nimai actually explained how, through devotional service, the Supreme Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can be known as he is. And the entire cosmic manifestation, how it has come from his pores, because he's non-different than Mahavishnu. In fact, that's how Hiranya and Jagadish Pandit, they saw to their full satisfaction how the Supreme Lord performed his transcendental playful pastimes.
So the Lord, little Nimai Gaura Sundara, he accepted and received all the loving offerings that Hiranya and Jagadish Pandit had brought with them, and he tasted everything little by little, little by little. And smiling with pleasure, Nimai ate all of the offerings. And, he was extremely happy. And everyone in the house was singing, Hari, 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 Hari. And the Lord ate and he danced to the chanting of his own name. And Nimai, he dropped some of the food, on the ground, and some got smeared and on the other family members. So this is how, on the day of Ekadashi, because Nimai's house, there was no preparation of it was all Ekadashi Prasad that was getting prepared. And only in the home of Hiranya and Jagadish Pandit, because they had very beautiful deities, they had made this wonderful non-Ekadashi items that they had prepared. So when, Nimai knew that, and he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so therefore the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not need to fast. Ekadashi, on Ekadashi day, he does not need to take, Ekadashi Prasad. So therefore, Nimai, on Ekadashi day, he enacted this pastime where he had, regular prasadam from Hiranya and Jagadish Pandit's house, where they had made this huge feast offering because it was a special Ekadashi. So therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is described in all the Vedas, in all the Puranas, in all the revealed scriptures, he played like an ordinary child in Shachi Mata's courtyard. And as he grew, Nimai became very, very restless. He became extremely naughty, because with the other boys of Nimai's age, Nimai would do naughty pranks and especially he would, disturb the Brahmanas, the so-called Brahmanas in Navadvip. No one could restrain him. He would wander freely all over the town. So now let us see some of the other pastimes of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in his Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita in the Adi Leela chapter 14, This is the same chapter 14 that we are continuing, where Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is giving highlights of the pastimes, and we are going into detail from Chaitanya Bhagavat and Chaitanya Bhagavat. So here's what Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying. শিশু সবলয়ে পার পদশির ঘরে চুরি করি দ্রব্য খাই মারে বালকেরে like Lord Chaitanya used to beat up other children. So the translation is, as usual for small children, Lord, Nimai Gaurasundar also learned to play with his playmates. He went to the houses of neighboring friends, stealing their eatables and eating them. And sometimes the children would fight amongst themselves, and Nimai would nicely also beat them up. Then Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, শিশু সব সাচি স্থানে কইল নিবেদন শুনি সচি পুত্রে কিছু দিলা ওলাহান.
All the children, they lodged complaints with Shachi Mata about the Lord's fighting with them and stealing from the neighbors' houses. Therefore, sometimes she used to chastise or rebuke her son. This is very much similar to the pastime of Sri Gopal. Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur, in his Chaitanya Bhagavat, Adi Leela chapter 6, he speaks about the naughty childhood pastimes of Nimai in the Ganga. When he would meet another young boy, Nimai would poke fun at him, and this boy would return the taunts, and then he would again taunt, and then this way Nimai and his friends, they would win such quarrels because Nimai was very powerful, and the opponents were defeated. And Nimai would look so beautiful in the grayish dust, because in Ganga, when you go, there is wet sand on the Ganges coast, and many people, they actually smear their body with that sand and become purified. And that grayish dust with speckled with drops of black writing ink, it says. So then after they finish their study at noon, all studies over, Nimai and his friends, they would then bathe in the Ganga, they would amuse themselves all the while. They would dive in the waters of the Ganga, and they would splash on each other, challenge each other. This is such wonderful opulence of Nadia or Nimai. Then hundreds of people, they gathered in one bathing place on the river. It was impossible to keep the track of different people who had come to that bathing place, because there were renunciates in saffron robes, there were householders, peaceful gentlemen, there were children, all of them came there to bathe. And the Lord, he performed these wonderful water sports with his friends. Sometimes they would be floating with the currents of the Ganga. They would use the excuse of water sports. And then Nimai, he splashed water from his divine lotus feet on whoever was near him. And people, in this way, he was giving his mercy. And people warned him, don't be so mischievous. But he would not, he would want to give the mercy from his lotus feet to everyone in his childhood. And if anyone would go after him to catch him, he was the fastest swimmer. He would just slip away. And Nimai, that's why he forced everyone to bathe several times by contaminating them, touching them after their bath, and sometimes spitting.
So Nimai, he would wait for these brahmanas to come out from the Ganga. And then he would have not yet taken bath. So, when these brahmanas would step out chanting the name of Vishnu, 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 they would come out, and then Nimai would go and, just touch them like this. As soon as he would touch them, he said, Nimai, what did you do? Now to go and take bath again. So they would go back to the Ganga. And they would not be able to, do anything. They would come and just complain to Jagannath Mishra that, please, just listen to what all your Nimai, he tortures us with. When we go and take our bath in the afternoon in the Ganga, Nimai is there with his friends and he tortures us like anything. You want to hear some of the things that Nimai does? He says, he does not allow us, when we are doing tarpana in the Ganga water, as soon as we lift the water in our hands, Nimai will come and do he'll put the water from his mouth into our palms, so he'll not let us complete. And then he will splash our water, splash Ganga water on us. He will disturb our meditation, and then he will ask us, by the way, who are you meditating on? Just look at me. In this Kali Yuga, I am actually Narayan himself. And they would, be surprised. Nimai, Vishnu, Vishnu, don't say like this. Nimai, don't say like this. And then one person would say, hey, you know what, Jagannath Mishra, what your son did? He stole my Shivalinga. And then he's saying, I am the Lord of Mahesh. So you should worship me. Why are you worshipping Shivalinga? Like that he talks. And then another person would say, oh, he was crying. He said, he ran away with my clothes. Another person said, I was preparing for Lord Vishnu's worship, and I collected in one place all nice, paraphernalia for worship, like flowers, durva grass, sandalwood, and a nice seat for Lord Vishnu. And I went for my bath. When I came back, Nimai was sitting on Vishnu's seat, and he ate the offering. And, he said, why do you feel sad? The same worship that you kept for Vishnu, I have in person come, and I have taken your offering. That has to, have nice life. So then one Brahmin would say, I stepped into the water to chant my Gayatri. When I was chanting my Gayatri, I was standing, the way the Gayatri mantras are chanted in the Ganga is that you stand up straight till your waist deep, and then you put your, you wrap your Brahmin thread and just go under the water. And, while standing, your hand goes under the water and you recite your Gayatri prayers, Gayatri mantras. So then Nimai, because they're standing and chanting, what does Nimai do at that time? He would go under the water. He would go under the water and he would pull on the legs of these people who were standing and chanting Gayatri, and they would dharam, they would fall, like this, they would fall on their back. So, Nimai was so naughty. And then another person would say, he steals every time. He will do so many things. My son, when I bring my little son to the Ganga also, he's very small. I put him on the banks of the Ganga while I go and take bath, and Nimai will come. He will take some Ganga water and he'll pour it in my young baby's ears, and then he'll make my young baby cry. This is how naughty your Nimai is. See what he does. Then he says, sometimes what your son does, when I'm standing and chanting my Gayatri, he will climb on my shoulders and he will shout, I am Vishnu, I am Vishnu, I am the Lord of Mahesh. And like this, he would do this, and then he would jump down from there. He would dive from my shoulder, he will dive down, and thus he will splash all Ganga water on me. So then this is how your son does. What to do? He will sit on the seat of Lord Vishnu, and he will, eat up everything. What to do? And one of the worst tricks that your son Nimai does, Jagannath Mishra. The other things we can tolerate. But one thing which your son does is very, very worst. So Jagannath Mishra was listening. Oh, my son Nimai has become so naughty. So what did he do? What is the worst thing that he did? He said, see, Matajis have their separate bathing area, and the Prabhujis, they have their separate bathing area. And the Matajis would, remove just their sari, they would go in, their garments, they would go inside the Ganga. And Prabhus also would leave their dhoti, and Nimai would exchange. He would exchange the saris with the dhotis. And when we come out, we find saris instead of dhotis. And when the Matajis come out, they find dhotis instead of their saris. Look, we are wearing all these colorful saris as dhotis and we are walking around town. What to do, your son? He is killing us, Jagannath Mishra. So what to do? What to do? And then this is the kind of mischief Nimai is doing. So please, please do something. Control your son. You are so generous. You're such a friendly Brahmana. But, your Nimai, his mischief is increasing day by day. And he remains in the water in the Ganga for at least 2 hours. 2 hours in the afternoon, he's, just torturing everyone. He's playing all this mischief. How do you expect that he will have, he will not catch a cold, he will have good health? How can you expect that? 2 hours every day he's frolicking in the water. So please, my dear Jagannath Mishra, you please do something about your son.
So Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he's the supreme controller of all controllers. And he knew that Jagannath Mishra was looking for him angrily. So Sri Gaura Sundar, he continued to perform his wonderful water sports. He was one of the most charming amongst all the boys. And these young maidens, gopis of Mayapur, they took pity on Nimai and said, listen, Vishwambar, your angry father is coming in this direction. Escape, escape now. And then Jagannath Mishra searched for Nimai, playing amongst his friends. And all the Brahmana maidens, they also ran away. Nimai had already instructed his friends that when his father inquires where he is, you all should say, your son did not come to bathe with us. He went back home after class. In fact, we ourselves are just waiting for him here. So Nimai returned to his house by another road, and Jagannath Mishra arrived at the bathing place on Ganga. He looked everywhere. He asked the boys, where did Vishwambar go? And they said the same thing. Today, Vishwambar, we wanted to ask you the same thing. He never came for his bath. He returned home on his usual road after his class. We are all waiting for him. If you find him, please send him here. So um, now they came to Jagannath Mishra and said, well, you know what? All these brahmanas who had earlier made complaints, they said Vishwambara ran home out of fear. So we will accompany home to you, with your home, and do anything that will be later regretted, because we want to stop you from giving him punishment. That's why we will come with you, not to ensure that he gets punishment, but to stop you. So if Nimai does this kind of thing again, then we will catch him and bring him to you. And so then the Brahmanas, they said that we made these complaints about Nimai just for fun. Don't take it so seriously. In fact, your good fortune is unmatched. These Brahmanas who made complaints said this. Nimai is such a pleasing son that the members of his family are never touched by hunger or thirst, sorrow, other material sufferings. Your son is the eternal supreme Lord, and you are very, very fortunate to be able to serve his lotus feet. We will always keep Vishwambhara's memories in our hearts, even if he disturbs us in so many different ways. It's actually our good fortune.
So then the personalities of, Nadia, these great personalities who were Brahmanas, they are very fortunate souls because, they understood this pastime that Nimai and, Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead was rendering here. And for this reason, just to intensify the Leelas, to intensify the rasas, they, were complaining so that the parental rasa of Jagannath Mishra would also be awakened by this. So then, you know, um, it is impossible, for a non-devotee to understand and relish such pastimes. Vrindavan Das Thakur says, then what was the need for these Brahmanas to even go and complain to Jagannath Mishra? Well, tomorrow we'll see Nimai, he would bite his lip, he would bite his nail, and he got all the details, because that time Nimai was not there, he had already run away. So his friends who were in the bathing ghat, they actually witnessed that, oh, these are the people who complained. That's why Jagannath Mishra came here. So they will go and inform Nimai that, Nimai, these are the people who complained about you. Nimai said, Acha, you complain. Now see what I will do. So what Nimai did to these Brahmanas as a result of their complaint to Jagannath Mishra, we'll see tomorrow. But then all of these pastimes are happening so that, their love, all of their love for Nimai would be more and more and more intensified. And that is the purpose of discussing these Leelas, that listening to these Leelas again and again, that our hearts will get purified and Lord Chaitanya will just appear in our heart and dance like a madman in our heart, make us forget about everything else. And all we remember is this beautiful golden boy, Sri Nimai Sachinandana Gaura Hari. So then After Jagannath Mishra heard from these Brahmanas all these things, then Nimai, Jagannath Mishra just embraced all these Brahmanas and he came home. And when he came home, he saw that, Krishna, little Vishwambhar, he had actually already gone home. He had reached home. So Nimai was shining brightly like the moon. And he carried the beautiful books in his hands. And there was even ink. Ink marks were there on his finger, to show to his father that, look, I'm coming from school. How Nimai did it? We don't know. He was already in the water for 2 whole hours. When we are in the water, how our fingers become, like lines appear on the fingers. None of that was there. His hair was dry, it was matted out. And he said, oh, look, so much dust on my body. And Jagannath Mishra is standing in a distance and he's witnessing that, yeah, Nimai is coming from school now. Look, there's ink on his hands. Jagannath Mishra even came and inspected, Nimai's hands. He said, Baba, what are you seeing? What are you seeing? He said, no, Nimai, you really coming from school? He said, I'm coming from school. And he says, Ma, he shouts out to Sachimata. And then Sachimata came over. He said, tell me, Shona, what do you want? So then, Gauranga Mahaprabhu said, look at my hair, so much dust. I'm going to go now to the Ganga. My friends may be waiting for me. Can you give me some oil so I can put on my hair and then I will go to the Ganga? So then Mother Sachi, nicely massaged Mahaprabhu's hair with nice sandalwood oil and rubbed oil all over his body very nicely. And then Nimai said, okay, I'm going now to Ganga, don't wait up for me, I will come back soon for lunch. And saying like this, Nimai went and played in the Ganga. And Jagannath Mishra, he was so surprised. He said, what is this? Who is this? Our little Nimai. Who is little Nimai? And he saw that, actually, yes, Nimai is actually covered in dust. And, uh, how did this happen? The Brahmanas are complaining on one side and Nimai is here. What is this? This is so illusory for me. So like this, Jagannath Mishra was so perplexed. And Nimai said, no, Baba, I have not yet taken my bath today. See, I'm going to go now for going and taking my bath. So, actually, what it is, all my friends, they have already gone. They are already waiting for me. And these people who are complaining to you, they are behaving improperly towards me. Although I have not been near them, they falsely accuse me of being at fault. I have not done anything. They are falsely accusing me. And if they continue to find fault and falsely accuse me, then I will actually go and misbehave with them and I will cause trouble for them. So Nimai, like this, he told his father. And Jagannath Mishra said, no, Baba, don't do anything. And then, Nimai just smiled and he left for the Ganga. And he again came and met up with his, friends who were waiting for Nimai to come back again on the same day to the Ganga.
So then all the boys in the Ganga, they said, you were so clever, Nimai. How come you saved yourself from such a nice beating that you would have had? So Nimai again, he said, it's okay, it's all right. And he started just playing again the water sports. And in the house of Mother Shachi and Sri Jagannath Mishra, they were considering these serious points that all the complaints that are brought against Nimai, they are certainly not lies. But yet there is no indication that Nimai had taken bath. Why will these Brahmanas lie? But then we can't catch him because there is no evidence. Everything was just as it should be. His body was covered with rust. He was dust. He was dressed in the same clothes. I think our Vishwambara is not an ordinary person. Perhaps the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, by his internal potency, has appeared in our house as our son. Or maybe he's a great personality, saintly personality. I just don't know what to do, what to think of him. So then Sri Jagannath Mishra pondered it, and Mother Sachi Devi felt so happy that to see that their son, that all their worries were completely vanished and their hearts were filled with tender affection. And both of them They felt their son's absence was very intensely, like separation that they were feeling. Those 2 hours seemed like 2 yugas to his parents. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, coming back to chapter 14, Adi Leela, says, Ganga snana kori puja korite lagila, Kanya gana madhye Prabhu ashiya boshila. When the girls engaged in worshipping the different demigods after bathing in the Ganges, the young lord would come there and sit down among them. Kanyare kahe ama pujo, ami dibo bor, Ganga Durga dasi mora, Mahesha kinkar. And so he would address the girls. The Lord would then say, worship me, and I will give you good husbands, good benedictions. The Ganges, Mother Durga, all of them are my maid servants. Don't you know that? And what to speak of all these devatas? Even Lord Shiva is my servant. And without the permission of these girls, the Lord would take the sandalwood pulp that they had brought for worshipping the Lord, and he would just smear it on his own body, put the flower garlands on his neck. He would snatch and eat all the offerings of sweetmeats, rice and bananas. And all these girls, they became very angry. Nimai, Nimai, you're just like your brother. You're like our brother in this village relationship. So don't act like this. Don't take our paraphernalia for worship and create a disturbance in this way. Prabhu kohe toma shobake dilai bor, toma shobar bhakta hobe paramo sundar. The Lord replied, my dear sisters, I give you the benedictions. Now that I have taken all these offerings from you, I will bless you that your husbands will be very handsome. And not only handsome, they'll be learned, they'll be clever, they'll be young, they'll possess abundant wealth, and they'll have lots of rice. Because that was the standard of wealth, cows and fields, cows and land. Not only that, you will have 7 sons who all will live very long and be very intelligent. And hearing this benediction from this little Nimai, the girls inwardly were very happy. But externally, as is natural for girls, they rebuked the Lord under the pretense of anger. And some of the girls, they fled, Nimai called them in anger. Where are you going? Why are you leaving me here? Jodi naivedya na deha hoya kripani, Bura bharta hobe ara chari chari shatini. If you run away like this, I have just given you benedictions for handsome husbands, clever, young, wealthy. But if you run away like this, you are miserly, you don't give me offerings, every one of you will have old husbands who has at least 4 co-wives already. You'll be the 5th one. And so hearing this, the girls were like, oh, okay, maybe he is some empowered person. How is he so confidently giving us blessing and then confidently cursing us? What if his curse comes true? Okay, all right. They came back and Aniya Nevedya Tara Sambukhe Dharila Khaya Nevedya Tare Ishtavara Dila. So the girls, they brought all the offerings before the Lord. He ate them all and blessed the girls to their satisfaction.
So Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, continuing on from this particular pastime, this is what we read just now is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Now Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, he speaks about this pastime of Nimai, how these young girls then would come and they would complain to Mother Shachi about little Nimai. These young angry girls, Vrindavan Das Thakur describes in chapter 6. He says that these young and angry girls from the neighborhood, they would approach Shachi and they would kind of, they would say, Nana Shachi Mata, আমাদের কথা শোনো, listen to us. We are really aggrieved by your son. Please hear from us, respected mother. Let's see what your, blessed son, what he is doing to us. He steals our clothes and he uses very, very abusive language with us also. He gives us curses and all that. He is torturing us this way. And when we try to correct him, when we try to tell him that, no, no, Nimai, don't do this, he will splash water on us and he starts quarreling with us. And we bring all the naivedya, we bring all the offerings for like fruits and flowers and sandesh and everything for Mother Ganga or for all the devatas, and to take care of all of our religious observances. But this Nimai, your Nimai, he will scatter and he'll spoil everything. He'll eat all the sandesh. He will not leave anything for us. And then he waits for us to finish our ablutions, and then after that he will throw sand on us. Your son Nimai, he stealthily comes from behind and he will, shout in our ears. Ah! He'll shout. And that really shakes us up. And, it completely horrifies us. We are, nicely, we're sitting in meditation for this Devata and he'll shout in our ears. Ah! Like that. And then one of the girls said, you know what, Sachi Mata, what your son did? Nimai, he put a mouthful of water right into my face, like that. And he throws dry seeds into my hair. Those dry seeds, how much ever I wash, they don't come off and they pull out my hair. Look, so much hair I'm losing. This is what your Nimai is doing. And then another girl complained that Nimai, Sachi Mata, she was very shy and she said, Sachi Mata, Nimai says that he wants to marry me. What should I do? Does your son think he's a prince? What does he think he is? And then everything your son actually does is very similar to exactly the same things that Nanda Maharaj's son, Vrajendra Nandan Shri Krishna would do. Does he think that he is Krishna? So, all these things we actually don't go and tell our parents, because if we tell our parents, then they will come and fight with you. You are very, very dear to us, Shachi Mata, but you immediately, please correct your son. Tell him not to disturb us like this. Please tell him not to do all this with us. So with a smiling face, Mahaprabhu's mother, Shachi Mata, the blessed mother, and she's so affectionate to everyone. She would embrace each and every one of the girls very, very affectionately, and she would tell them, no, 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 don't worry, please, don't worry. I will when Nimai comes home today, I will talk to him that he should not trouble you. And then they would say, Nana Shachimata, don't scold him, huh? Don't scold him, because even though they would complain to Shachimata, the girls would also love the fact that Nimai would have such loving reciprocations with them. So then all of them, they took the dust of Shachimata upon their heads and they would, continue on with their daily chores.
So the Falastuti that is explained of hearing these pastimes is that we should first offer our countless obeisances at the lotus feet of Mother Shachi Devi and Sri Jagannath Mishra, because it's their great fortune that they have had the Supreme Lord manifested as their son, and how he performs such wonderful pastimes. No one could perceive these transcendental activities, sometimes so naughty, sometimes so nice, and both were nice actually. And it is said, simply by sincerely hearing and reciting these beautiful pastimes of little Nimai, one can develop unconditional attachment to the lotus feet of Lord Shri Gaura Sundar Ki Jai.
এইখানে রহিলা গ্রন্থ অমৃত লহরী বদন ভরে একবার বলো হরি হরি
Hari 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 Hare Krishna.
So we end our session here, and today we will also chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra for the spiritual benefit and the protection and the well-being of Anjudi and her family, the mother of Anjudi, and also the family of our very dear Flavier, and also another family from India. So we pray for all of them. If you want to dedicate our kirtan to any of your family members, please do message us, and we would be very happy to dedicate the kirtan in their names. Manasi, yes, sure, we will definitely pray for your mom too. Dedicate it to her.
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nidinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauramrita Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshadarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Srila Prabhupada ki,
Jai.
Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki,
Jai.
Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki.
Jai. Hare Krishna. So before we open the lines, here's the quiz questions for today.
First, name the two devotees whose offerings that Nimai wanted to eat. Second, mention some of the mischievous pranks that Nimai would play with the Brahmanas.
Third, how did Nimai cleverly save himself from the wrath of Jagannath Mishra? Fourth, what benedictions did Nimai offer to the young girls and what did he ask in return?
Fifth, what is the pleasure, falastuti of hearing the childhood pastimes of Nimai?
Haribol, thank you so much, Divyangi and Premikas Prabhu, for these wonderful quiz questions. Now let's open the lines. First, we have Bhakti Priya. Can we unmute? Can we allow the participants to unmute, please? Yes.
Hare Krishna Mataji and Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. The pastimes of Gauramrita Prabhu, oh my god, it's so hilarious and so beautiful also. It's so nice to hear, and I'm so fortunate to hear the pastimes of Gauramrita Prabhu from you. Jai Gauramrita Prabhu ki jai. So today I have one question that Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami Srila, it transformed into Radharaman DT. It's in Vrindavan. It's so beautiful and nice. But why is not having flute in his hand? He has kept his hand like this. But why the flute is not given?
He has a flute.
But Mataji, 1 minute.
If you see the pictures, he's holding his hand like this kind.
Yeah, yes, Mataji. He is holding his hand like that, but the flute is not given. I have seen in many pictures.
Well, maybe that time he is not dressed accordingly. So, but he always has his flute.
Can you see, Mataji?
You can see below in his arms, he's holding the flute.
Below, why the flute is given below like that? Different.
It's possible that, because it's self-manifested, his hands are a little tighter, very close, so you cannot put the stick in between his hands. So you cannot put the flute in between his hands. Because the flute is thicker, the space between his hands are small.
And it would really hit his mouth also.
Yeah, so maybe they are putting it here. Then sticks are big when the flutes are thicker. When the flutes are very, very thin, then they put it inside. But otherwise, if the flutes are thick, then they don't find any, it doesn't go in. So they are putting it on his elbows.
Okay, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Next we have Kirti.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Guru and Gauranga. I really liked today's class, Mataji and Prabhuji. And I liked all the pastimes and the little pranks that Nimai would pull on all the people over there. And I also liked the pastime when Nimai switches up the clothing. And I really think that was a really cute pastime. I have one question. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, why is there not that much of pastimes about Vishwambara when Vishwambara is also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's brother?
Oh, you mean Vishwaroop?
Oh, sorry, Vishwaroop.
Yes. Well, Vishwarupa's pastimes are not much mentioned anywhere. because Vishwarup, there are very few. Actually, in our day after tomorrow's session, we will be talking about Vishwarup. And that day we will hear what Chaitanya Charitamrita also says, and what Chaitanya Bhagavat says, and Chaitanya Mangal says about Vishwarup. So, the main important pastime of Vishwarup is that how he took sannyas. So that pastime is there, and we are going to speak about it.
Otherwise, he would hardly stay home, and he would actually just continue engaging in devotional worship services and deity worship at the house of Advaita Acharya, because Advaita Acharya was the foremost Vaishnava. Nimai had not started manifesting his Vaishnava pastimes, and but Vishwarup was, a very serious devotee. So he would just be engaged in devotional service with Srila Advaita Acharya. So that's why, he did not perform any special pastimes. Only thing is that he would just go to Advaita Acharya and associate with him and serve him and perform devotional services accordingly. And everyone was waiting for, and at that time, the Vaishnava community was very small, and Advaita Acharya was leading it. But that's why Advaita Acharya called Lord Chaitanya to please come and start your mission. And everyone was waiting for Lord Chaitanya to start his mission. At the same time, there were many Smarta Brahmanas there who used to criticize the Vaishnavas. So Vaishnavas would just form their own small group and just, do Krishna Katha and do all these things. And Vishwarup would just always be engaged in that. And then he would be engaged in studies of scriptures. And so his were, in one sense, monotonous pastimes. And the same thing he would continue doing. So there is no more details of what he spoke, what things happened, just like there are no more details of what Advaita Acharya did, during Nimai's pastimes. So like that.
So when we were talking about the Brahmana eating rice, remember, at that time there's a mention that Vishwarup came and begged the Brahmana the last time to cook. And with his interference, then, after the Guru's mercy, then the Brahmana received the mercy of Vishwambhar, So it was like that. So that's, he is mentioned in bits and pieces. And as Prabhu said, that, we'll talk about him and his sannyas leela in, I think, day after tomorrow's session.
Thank you, Mataji and Prabhuji, for the answer, and thank you also for a beautiful bhajan. Thank you, Mataji, Prabhuji, for a beautiful session. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hari Bol. Garima.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Prabhuji. Danvat Pranam. All blessed to Shri Prabhupada and Gurudev. I really enjoyed your class a lot. And the stories are so amazing. How Nita used to pull the legs of those brahmanas standing in the water. And I also love how Nimai's naughty pastimes were so amazing and so blissful. And I really love the stories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's the most favorite of mine. I really love them a lot.
Wonderful.
I don't have any question, but I did the Shaligram, Sheila.
Beautiful. Wonderful, wonderful. So beautiful. It's
very
beautiful.
Colorful.
Thank you, Rita.
Thank you, Mataji and Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hari Bol. Any other questions?
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam, Mataji and Prabhu.
Dandavat Pranam. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, I have one question. It's not maybe not relevant to the class, but Jiva Tattva, Vishnu Tattva, Shiva Tattva, three tattvas are there, right? So a Jiva can rise up to Brahma based on the austerities or the whatever recommended in the Vedic literature. If they perform, he can rise up to Jiva. Now, what about Parvati's position and Lord Ganesha's and Subramania's position? Are these Jiva Tattvas, especially Ganesha and Subramania? Can you, explain that, Prabhuji, please?
Well, it is said that all the devatas um, are posts.
Right.
So different living entities take posts. Like Indra is a post, but Shiva is not a post.
Yes.
And even Brahma is a post which
Yes.
Jiva can take. So considering that, I believe that even um, Ganesh and Subramanya, they would also be a post. Although I'm not, I haven't heard specifically about them of having any special tattva or if they are part of Shiva tattva or not. I'm not so much aware, but based on the understanding that all the devatas are posts, I would assume that yes, they are. But there is nothing specific that I have read about them being Shiva tattva or anything of that sort.
And a very fact that can be said is that Lord Shiva, as Prabhu said, that Lord Shiva is a very special personality. He is not a post. But anyone on Brahma's level, up to the level of Brahma, is said that they are all posts. They are all Jiva Tattvas who can, human beings. It is said that if you perform 100 lifetimes in a perfect varnashram dharma, next lifetime you can be Lord Brahma. So if that is the position for Lord Brahma, then the other devatas automatically are all below. They're subservient to Lord Brahma. So, they would definitely be Jiva Tattvas, and you can, acquire to be the position of a demigod.
Kailash, where Lord Shiva is in his eternal abode, right? Mataji, if I understand correct, like it doesn't get, but where Lord Shiva's abode is an eternal abode, like it doesn't get destroyed, right? During Pralaya time.
Yeah, there are three abodes of Lord Shiva. There is two Kailash. One is on earth, one is in the heavenly planets. Okay. Kailash is there as well. And then there is the abode Sadashiva, which is next to the spiritual world, which is called the Mahesh Dham. So that doesn't get destroyed ever.
Okay.
So like that. But because this Rudra has come from Brahma, so when after Brahma's lifetime and everything goes inside Mahavishnu's pores, and then when it comes back again, it's unmanifested. Then it gets manifested again, but it doesn't get destroyed during Brahma's night. That's correct. But when Brahma's lifetime is over, then it goes inside Mahavishnu's body, unmanifested, then again gets manifested.
So that means the Kailash in the material realm, that also get unmanifested, right, Prabhuji?
Yes. Yes. But in the Sadashiva, Mahesh Dham in Sadashiva, next to the Vaikuntha, is not destroyed.
Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anita Mataji?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I just posted one question for in the chat for Prabhuji. In the WhatsApp chat, I had already put. I'll just repeat it. Prabhuji, I just wanted to know this karma cycle, the current what I just recently that day when I posted, I heard this. Karma cycle is that way there is a tank that is Sanchit Karma, and from the tap coming into the bucket is the Prarabdha Karma, and whatever in the current body we are doing goes into the tank again as Sanchit. It becomes Sanchit Karma, right? Please correct me wherever if I'm wrong. So my question was, what I heard that day was, ki whatever is prarabdha, whatever is decided for this current life is pre-decided. That will happen whatsoever. Exceptional, maybe spiritual, Krishna consciousness and all, but basic. And whatever we are doing in this current life, in this existing life, will go into the Sanchit Karma. There cannot be any result of these activities in the current life, whether good or bad.
Well, yes, you're right about Sanchit Karma and Prarabdha Karma, and the explanation that you gave, that Sanchit is collected karma, Prarabdha is what is being issued. So what happens to us is according to our Prarabdha Karma, based on the amount that is coming from Sanchit. But how we react to what is happening to us will become the future, will become the Sanchit Karma. But that Sanchit Karma can, it can happen in this lifetime, it can happen in next lifetime, it doesn't have to happen in next lifetime. It's like for every moment the Sanchit becomes Prarabdha and it applies. It's not like for one lifetime you get something and that's it. Now if you do anything, everything else will happen in next lifetime. No. For example, if we go on the street and slap someone, immediately we'll get the Sanchit Karma as Prarabdha Karma by him hitting us. So that happens immediately. So for every moment there is from Sanchit Karma, the Prarabdha would actually come. It's not like whatever we do will happen only in the next lifetime, because and sometimes it may not happen in next lifetime. It may happen what we do this lifetime. We may get the reaction 100 lifetimes later. It all depends on the permutation and combination of what we desire and what we deserve. Just like Prabhupada gives an example. In fact, Srila Rupa Goswami is saying, Bijam, Putam, there are four kinds of reactions that come to us. Reactions are in the seed form. Some reactions, action we do, like, okay, we got some Prarabdha Karma. Now we are reacting to that Prarabdha Karma. As a result, we are generating more reactions. Some of them, those reactions are in the seed form. Some of those reactions are growing into a tree. Some of those reactions are in germination, like the fruit is about to come. And the fourth kind of reactions, the fruit has come and it has become very ripe, and we are receiving those. So any action we do, or any way we react to the things that are happening to us, it forms these four kinds of reactions. Um, so therefore, if it takes, for some reaction, it'll take time for it to germinate and then give us the reaction. For some, it'll immediately we'll get it. For some, it'll take lesser time, depending on what kind of seed it is. Some, like for mango tree, if you put a mango seed, it'll take long time to fructify. If you put some other plant, it'll quickly grow and give fruits. So it all depends on what kind of action we are doing, which will determine whether we will get the reaction immediately, or 10 years later, or in next lifetime, or even 100 lifetimes later. Because there is a story of Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra, he's asking why my 100 sons died. All of my 100 sons died. What happened? What did I do for doing this? And so Vidura actually tells him that 100 lifetimes ago, you were a hunter, and you actually burnt the tree on which there were two birds with their several offsprings. And on that tree, there were so many different offsprings, and everyone got burnt. As a result, you were supposed to get a reaction that your sons will also die. But in order to get the Sukriti, to get an offspring of 100 offspring, to get 100 offspring, the Sukriti for 100 offspring, you had to wait for 100 lifetimes to collect that much karma, that Sanchit Karma, so that after 100 lifetimes you can get 100 sons. And then 100 offsprings. And then what you did 100 lifetimes ago will get applied to you. So it's not very, easy that, okay, everything happens in next lifetime only. It can happen 100 lifetimes later, what we do now, or it can get immediate reaction as well. Does that make sense?
Yes, Prabhuji. So whatever we are doing in current life, Sanchit and Prarabdha is okay, pre-decided, and whatever is in the collected is okay. But what we are doing now, that result, maybe good or bad, can come even in this life, in next life, in any of the future lives. That is what it is, right? Okay, it's the same thing. I had the understanding, but then he said that it appears like it is the instant reaction. What we have done now, the reaction is coming right away, but it is actually prarabdha. It is pre-decided. So
it's a combination of all, like what reaction we get of whatever we do, what reaction we get is not immediate just because of what we did just now. It is included what we did just now, but it also includes all the other things, all over previous lifetimes. Just like Dhritarashtra, his sons had to die, but it was a resultant reaction of not just that same lifetime, but even 100 lifetimes ago. Everything is a combination of all the things that we have done so far, which applies. And the proof of that is Srila Rupa Goswami saying, there's a verse, I'm not able to remember all of them, but it says, Bijam, Kutam, some are in the Bij form, some are in the Kuta form, and then finally he says some are immediately, they'll fructify. So all of those things will come together. It's a resultant. And therefore, Arjuna also asks that how can we know which karma is applying to us right now? And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, forget about it. With this 450 grams of gray matter, we cannot understand which karma is going to apply. What I'm going through now is because of which karma. 100 lifetimes ago we did, plus little 10% of what I did 100 lifetimes ago, 50% of what I did just now, 30% of what I did in previous lifetime, and 20% of what I did 10 years ago. All of this combination, we will get a reaction. And how that happens, that is all the material nature. If we can understand that, we'll become God. But Krishna tells Arjuna, don't worry about these things. It's just focus on now that I am going through this situation, how should I react in a Krishna conscious way that will please Krishna, so that by that reaction, I can get away from this cycle of birth and death. That is the most important thing, because nothing else is in our control. There's no point in going into details of that. And even if we go, we will never be able to understand.
okay, thank you. Just wanted to understand this.
Yes.
The reaction can come in this lifetime itself. Can come. It is whatever happens is nobody knows. But Hare Krishna, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Right. Any other questions or comments? If not, thank you very much. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo
namo namo.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna
Hare Krishna
Prabhuji,
Prabhuji,
Hare
Dandavat
Krishna
Pranam.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Mataji,
Dandavat
Pranam.
Dandavat
Mataji, koti koti
Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat
Hare Krishna
Pranam. Jai Jai
Mataji,
Shri Radha.
Dandavat Pranam.
Happy birthday to Bhaiya Di.
Hare Krishna Mataji Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji and Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Mataji and Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, beta. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, and thank you again for all of the prayers. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you so much for a nice session today.
Hare Krishna. Yesterday was my brother's birthday, but it's
Happy
over there
birthday.
today.
Happy
Just
birthday.
shower your blessings on him. He will be
Yes.
very, very happy.
Today's Kirtan we also offer to him.
Yeah.
Vipin Pantalji.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dee. Thank you. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
I would all right now.